Excuse us for our technical difficulties there, everybody. Once again, back here with the Pierce the Canvas podcast. This is Pierce as always. Just had some like crazy glitch happen with my camera. I think I got it fixed. Hopefully it doesn't start flipping out again. But we'll just keep the show rolling here, everybody. So as I kind of got into here, again, just mentioning that this is a huge episode of Dynamite, a huge three-title match show. Again, the IWGP United States title as well as the tag team titles and TNT titles on the line tonight. And just to repeat a little bit of what I said before that, again, this show, it definitely had some stuff that was really, it kind of really did miss for me. We'll be getting into those things, but I overall thought like, hey, it was a quality wrestling show at the end of the day. After everything was said and done, and again, just getting into the opening match, which was Yuji Nagata versus Jon Moxley. I guess I was slightly shocked that they opened with this match, but then once you think about it, like, it's not even their title, right? They had two more of their own championships on the same show, so I think it made sense to open with the United States title match, a New Japan United States title match. And basically, where I left off before is just saying that again. Apparently, Yuji Nagata, this is not his first time on TNT. However, it is his first time in 23 years on TNT Network. So it's it's a pretty big deal. Like, especially, I'm sure Nagata's over the moon about having had this opportunity himself as well. And Jon Moxley made his entrance to unusual music. I was hoping to God he was going to use his NJPW theme song, his Death Rider theme song. I was really hoping he would. However, you know what? Like, he didn't use his normal theme song. He used Wild Thing You Make My Heart Sing. That, like, super popular hit song. He used that as his theme song, which is like the last thing I would ever expect from a Jon Moxley, but whatever. I guess he just wanted to have some fun. I'm sure it's just a temporary thing. I hope it is, because it's not a good theme song for Jon Moxley. Maybe just this once. It's like whatever. It's cool, but I don't need to be seeing this stuff from here on out. And we got some crowd shots. We saw Rocky Romero in the crowd. Of course, he's a key player in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We also saw Lance Archer and Jake Roberts also in the crowd watching on. So, hey, like, I guess we might see Lance Archer perhaps get a rematch for the United States Championship after having lost it, like, over a year ago. So, during the match, we had Nagata and Moxley trading hard kicks. Kicks is a big part of Yuji Nagata's offense, so there is a lot of that. At this point of the match, Nagata landed an exploder for a 2 count. Jon Moxley landed a German suplex as well as a huge lariat for a near fall. Nagata landed a avalanche exploder. Moxley flipped him off right after having fallen off the top rope from an exploder. Nagata lands a huge kick for a near fall. Jon Moxley is locked in a headlock at one point, and has a headlock locked in, and Nagata is able to reverse for an armbar until a rope break. Moxley lands a sliding lariat for a near fall, locks in the bulldog choke, and at this point I noticed that Jon Moxley's opened up. I think it's one of those inadvertent, it wasn't a blade job, in other words. Yeah, he got scratched or something, so he's kind of just bleeding all over the place. But yeah, the match, not a whole lot more happened from there. He just pretty much at one point picked up Nagata for a paradigm shift, and that was the match. It wasn't excellent, to be honest, or anything like that. It definitely wasn't bad. I really like the post-match stuff, to be honest. Like, Moxley bowed down to Yuji Nagata out of respect, and Yuji did the same. It was one of those kind of nice moments after a match. So it was a nice, I'll take it as a nice little treat that we got. As wrestling fans, I'm sure we were all happy to see this here, and who knows what's in store for the future. As far as New Japan talent showing up on Dynamite or vice versa. Really looking forward to seeing what happens next. And next up, we had Alex Marvez with the Inner Circle, or at least a few of them. I think it was Sammy Guevara, Ortiz, and Jake Hager were there at this time. Ortiz said they had Pinnacle down, mentioned how MJF showed his true colors for pushing Jericho off the cage last week, had the audacity to get Santana arrested for stabbing MJF with a fork, so apparently that happened. Santana wasn't on the show today, so I guess that's the reason why. Ortiz calls MJF a bitch. Hager says that the Pinnacle would have to kill the Inner Circle to stop them. Says that the Pinnacle failed to, and they want another match. Sammy Guevara says that tonight may become the funeral for the Pinnacle because they do have their coronation ceremony coming up later tonight. And next we had a very convoluted Cody Rhodes promo. You know Cody Rhodes' promos, right? Like they're always fueled with passion, and he kind of does like ramble on a lot of times, but he did that to the max during this promo. Like while it was still a pretty powerfully delivered promo, it was kind of weird. Like it was very patriotic. Um, just talking about his pride of being an American. I guess the reason they're going in this direction is because Anthony Ogogo is he's English. So I guess Cody was like, "Oh, we'll make this a national pride angle." So he accuses Anthony Ogogo for running down and burying the United States. Talks about the how Ogogo's always talking about the anger and the division of the United States. Says that Anthony has the rights of any American, though, to say what he wants, the right to free speech. Says that the argument is what makes them who they are, and says that their empathy outweighs their anger. Says that Anthony didn't come to America to live the England dream. And then Cody was sure to say, like, because it's starting to sound slightly heelish at this point. I guess he's in the States, so by default it's babyface-ish. But if you're talking smack about England, but he did make clear to say I'm not disparaging, and he mentioned like a few of the greats from England, including Pac and some other people. I think he mentioned Pac. Cody says that Anthony doesn't know what America is all about and starts going on about some like American history stuff. Says that prior to 1961, there's segregation. Blacks and whites couldn't interact. It wasn't considered appropriate, obviously, back then. But now in 2021, and he mentioned in the same city, his wife will be giving birth to a black and white American princess. Wants her to know that he didn't live under a man's flag. He got up and fought back. Cody challenges Ogogo to a match at Double or Nothing. I don't really know why. Like, why? Like, why are you wrestling this guy at a pay-per-view, man? Like, my buddy texted me during the show saying, like, what the hell happened with the whole thing that was going on with Penta, sorry, not Kenta. Pentagon Jr. Like, weren't they going to have a program? It absolutely went nowhere after that first day, after Alex Abrahantes made his debut as his manager. Nothing happened since then, so I don't know, like, this Anthony Ogogo guy, like, and we haven't seen anything of him. I really don't know why they would think this is a good move, but okay. So that's the match at Double or Nothing. Cody mentions how Double or Nothing will be at full capacity, which is pretty crazy news in itself, isn't it? Cody says that Anthony won't fight the American Nightmare. Cody says at Double or Nothing, Anthony Ogogo will face the American Dream, Cody Rhodes. So I guess he's done away with the American Nightmare stuff, and now he's taken up his dad's name, the American Dream. And I find that fact way more interesting than the fact that he's facing Anthony Ogogo on pay-per-view. Jeez, it's just weird. I don't know, am I the only one? We see a video package for SCU versus the Young Bucks for later today. Christopher Daniels basically, it was just like a quick interview with SCU. They're talking about how the Bucks were family and now they feel betrayed after this heel turn. And Kazarian says that all they have to do is beat up the Young Bucks, and they talk about having everything to lose. And they did mention slightly that if they lose, they disband as a team, which was just like way under mentioned, I guess. Like even in the last weeks, like the announcers had barely talked about how this match, the SCU team is on the line for this match, and we'll get into a little bit more of that in a sec here. But this interview actually led us into the match. So the Young Bucks come out. Of course, they're rocking their $1,000 Jordans. Match starts, and Matt Jackson lands an apron bomb to Christopher Daniels. Nick Jackson lands an assisted swanton on the apron. Nick Jackson kicked Christopher Daniels' head into the ring post at one point. busting him open. And I'm talking like almost, not quite, but like pretty damn close to that Eddie Guerrero level blood, man. Like, I would say it was probably like 70% of that. It was pretty bad, man. This guy was busted open. So yeah, I guess CD just wanted to juice for his last match as SCU. Kazarian got a double pin attempt after catching a Matt Jackson dive. Kazarian landed a Styles Clash to Matt Jackson for a near fall. That was cool. Matt lands a tombstone, Nick with a knee strike for a near fall. Christopher Daniel lands Angel's Wings to Nick. Matt is able to get in for a spear before the pin attempt. Christopher Daniels dodges a super kick attempts his finisher, but Matt reverses, and they get this like really dramatic shot. Like Christopher Daniels is crawling over to Matt. You know, he's all bloody to hell, and I mentioned that the Young Bucks are wearing $1,000 Jordans. Christopher Daniels' blood is just all over these Jordans, which I gotta insist that probably low key like actually pissed off Matt. Dude, like my J's, man. Why are you bleeding all over my J's? $1,000, bro. Matt Jackson mocks the Shawn Michaels "I'm sorry, I love you," from WrestleMania 24 to Ric Flair. Super kick to Christopher Daniels for a near fall. There was a couple cool near falls in this match actually. That was a near fall that got me for sure. Christopher Daniels is able to musk up some energy, lands a Uranagi. He attempts a BME, but he can't make it, and the announcers are like, "Oh, he's bleeding out too much. He's suffered too much blood loss." Which, dude, like, that sucks. But anyway, he attempted the BME again and landed it. The best moonsault ever. Matt Jackson sprayed Christopher Daniels in the face with a spray tan while the referee was distracted. That's actually a near fall that got me, to be honest. I thought that was going to be it. But it didn't last much longer. The Young Bucks pick up Christopher Daniels, land a BTE trigger for the win. And they couldn't have not mentioned it they couldn't have mentioned it any less than they did. That SCU is no longer a tag team. They didn't give a shit. They didn't mention anything. The announcers didn't say anything about it, dude. The match ends, and like this whole thing barely even made sense. Like I thought this out. The match ends, they land the BT trigger on SCU, and they pretty much just take off after the match. And instead of like even acknowledging that SCU is no longer a tag team, they just cut to backstage, and John Moxley and Eddie Kingston are just trashing the Elite's dressing room. I'm like, why is this important? Like, like, why do I need to see these guys destroying a dressing room? Like, SCU just disbanded as a team. Yeah, it was kind of aggravating actually, and so they go to commercial and they just show like a 5-second clip of Kazarian and Daniels hugging. Daniels is bleeding to death, and they just show a tiny clip of them hugging. And that's all we got, and that's SCU. And the thing that occurred to me is, like, why did Moxley and Kingston even go to the Elite's dressing room? Like, the match ended, and they immediately went backstage, and then we immediately see John Moxley and Kingston in their dressing room. It's like, well, why aren't you at gorilla position waiting to beat them up there? Like, why are you in their dressing room? Like, they could have at least, I would have been a little more forgiving if maybe Moxley and Kingston went straight, again, to, like, gorilla position and just start beating the crap out of the Elite. But instead they cut to the dressing room, and it felt insulting because it's like, dude, your first tag team champions is no longer a tag team. They couldn't have given less of a shit. So that's a huge criticism for this episode for me. I was not okay with that, but we got to move on with life. So next up we have Christian. I think I caught everything he said. Christian's being interviewed by Dasha, says that Taz critiqued his wrestling last week and said something like, "That's like me criticizing him at a buffet," or something like that. Insults Taz. He challenges Taz to send any member of Team Taz to face Christian and signed his open contract. Something like that, he said. I guess he has like an open contract for a match. I don't really know what the point is. He also mentioned that he's going to be in the Double or Nothing Casino Battle Royal, which is like, I mean, I guess that's fine. I thought this guy was a world-class Hall of Famer or whatever they prepped him up to be, and now he's just, the next pay per view after he arrives, he's in a battle royal. Granted, if he wins the battle royal, he gets a title shot, so I guess he's gonna win the battle royal. I don't know. I just feel like he is. Anyway, so during this same interview here, Matt Sydal actually came out and distracted, and says that he himself actually signed the open contract for a match next week instead of Team Taz. So we're gonna get Christian versus Matt Sydal next week. Again, I don't really get what this whole open contract thing is about. Like, it's just for a match. That's it. Like, okay. So next up, we have Orange Cassidy versus Pac. Orange Cassidy versus Pac. The winner challenges for Kenny Omega's world title. And yeah, there wasn't a whole lot here, to be honest. At the beginning of the match, we had the usual Orange Cassidy banter. He like puts his sunglasses on Pac, and I guess he distracted Pac enough that he was able to land a beach break for a near fall right at the beginning of the match. Pac lands a series of top rope shotgun drop kicks, landed like 3 of them for a couple near falls. Orange Cassidy rolls out of the way of a Black Arrow setup, which was, it was a funny Orange Cassidy spot. Like, the Black Arrow's being set up on the top rope. Orange Cassidy just slowly rolls. He actually rolls toward the corner that Pac is in, and they just got a funny shot of, like, Orange Cassidy just chilling under Pac. Pac lands a Liger Bomb for a near fall. And then they went to commercial, and they came straight, again, I don't really pay much attention to the pictures. They came back from commercial, and Don Callis is yelling about wanting a winner for some reason. He's yelling at Pac, "We want a winner!" And I'm like, I don't know what the hell is. I thought there was a match. Like, what's going on here? Kenny shows up and blindsides Pac with the title. So Pac is knocked out, as well as Orange Cassidy, which I'm not sure why. Is it from the Liger? I don't think it's from the Liger Bomb, because that was before commercial. Unless he was just down for like 6 minutes. Anyway, so because Kenny Omega blindsided Pac with the title, the ref was distracted. So he turns around and both guys are down. So he starts to count to 10, gets to 10, and it's a draw. Callis says that Kenny will have the night off on May 30th. Kenny says that we got 2 losers. No one would pay money to see this. So Tony Schiavone kind of creeps behind with the microphone. He's about to inform Kenny Omega of some news. Kenny asks Don Callis first to put on his shades, like to give him his shades. Tony informs Kenny that he will defend the title against Orange Cassidy and Pac in a triple threat at Double or Nothing. However, I guess they can't legally use the term triple threat, so they said, I don't know, they use some term, I think, some weird term, but that's what we're getting. We're getting Pac versus Orange Cassidy versus Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing, and I think this might be the first triple threat in AEW history. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember there ever having been one. So, back to the stupid locker room that Moxley and Kingston screwed up. By the way, both the times that they went to the locker room, the audio was all messed up. I'm like wondering like what's going on. There's like no bass in the audio. I don't know. They had some audio issues in the locker room because both times they went in there, I noticed it. Anyway, the Elite are pissed off that the locker room is all torn up, which I just couldn't care less about. Matt boasts about ending SCU, challenges Moxley and Kingston to a title match at Double or Nothing. And I believe they mentioned here that they're also going to defend their titles next week against the Varsity Blondes. I do believe that's a title match. I'm pretty sure. Next up is the Pinnacle Coronation. So MJF comes on out with 2 ladies, and he's wearing a king's crown and a pink suit. Shortly thereafter, the Pinnacle all come out, following him to the ring. MJF grabs a mic, tells us that he told us he was going to take Jericho's spot and his crown, and says that we will now refer to MJF as the greatest of all time. MJF demands that we bow down to the Pinnacle. MJF says that they're the biggest draw in pro wrestling after having been number 1 on cable last week, which was super impressive. Great stuff for AEW, man. I'm really glad to hear that they're number 1 on cable. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I also said that TSN had a record breaking viewership for the show as well, and he credits that to Sean Spears, and he calls him a Canadian god. I'm not sure. Like, did Sean Spears really draw for for this show? I don't know. Something tells me I don't think so. I don't think the Canadian audience are so crazy about like, oh, there's a Canadian guy on, we gotta watch it. I don't think Sean Spears was a draw. I think it was just the fact that it was blood and guts. I'm in Canada, by the way. I'm Canadian, so I know. MJF asks why Inner Circle would want a rematch. Asks the people what they think. Obviously, they want the rematch. MJF says, "You ain't getting a rematch." Tully says that being at the top and looking down at all the talent is, he's been in this place before. Talks about how MJF threw Jericho after Sammy had quit the match. Tully says that when you quit, you stinkin' quit. Tully says Pinnacle deserves the greatest things, including some of the most beautiful women. They had like 5 women at this point in the ring with them. Tully pulls out little boxes for the Pinnacle, little gifts, and in the boxes are contained watches. Tully says that every time they wear those watches, they'll know it's a gift from Tully Blanchard. And then we hear honking, and the first thing I thought is, didn't we have a honking spot on Dynamite a couple weeks ago? Remember, it was Kingston and Moxley. So we got that again, except this time it was Inner Circle, excluding Chris Jericho, and they're in a golf cart. Spoiler alert: Jericho's actually there. He showed up like a minute later on the golf cart. However, I saw the guy hiding. I literally saw him hiding. Because the golf cart shows up and there's, I think it was Hager. I think it was the same crew that was interviewed. It was Hager, Ortiz, and Sammy Guevara. And I think there's like a glass window at the back of the golf cart. And you could see Chris Jericho hiding. I saw him hiding. So he's hiding in there. But anyway, it didn't take him long to reveal himself. So Chris Jericho shows up and he asks Inner Circle again for a rematch. MJF rejects again. Jericho tells Sammy, "Alright, get him." So Sammy pulls out a hose and starts spraying down the heels from the golf cart. Apparently, the hose contains bubbly, so they're spraying down the heels with bubbly. MJF tells the crowd to shut up, and he accepts the match. And it will be a Stadium Stampede match, which is actually pretty sick. I'm looking forward to that. Second stipulation being that if Inner Circle loses, they have to break up. Hopefully we actually hear about it if they break up. Jim Ross is sitting with Britt Baker ahead of her match against Hikaru Shida at Double or Nothing. About a year ago, they wrestled. Shida broke Baker's nose, taking her out for 5 months. Baker says that pain will hurt you or it will change you. She says that JR coined her, himself, the baddest bitch on the block. Says it's poetic that the monster Shida created will be the one to dethrone her. Britt says that she's pretty fucking hard to kill. Of course, they censored the F word. JR asks about why she distracted a photo shoot of Tony Khan for Forbes. That's news to me. Baker says that she should have been in the photo shoot. JR says that Shida's time may have come. She's been champion for a year. Baker says that the women's division has been on life support throughout the pandemic. Baker declares that she is the life pulse of the women's division, says the division will live on its own when she becomes champion. And I do think she will become champion. So next up we have Thunder Rosa in action. Made quick work of Jasmine Allure, finishing with a Fire Thunder driver. And I read a report earlier today, I don't know, how accurate or how credible it is, saying that Thunder Rosa might soon be exclusively locked in with NWA, which I don't want. I don't want to have to watch NWA to see Thunder Rosa. I'm sorry if there's NWA fans out there who would be offended, but I really do not want her to leave AEW. Next week, Serena Deeb versus Red Velvet, we will see for the NWA Women's World Title. We'll also see again the Young Bucks versus Varsity Blondes. Again, I believe it's for the world titles, the tag team titles, I should say. Christian Cage versus Matt Sydal. And then they talked a little bit about what we'll see at Double or Nothing. We'll see Anthony Ogogo versus Austin Gunn. Adam Page versus Brian Cage. Sorry. Actually, Anthony Ogogo versus Austin Gunn is next week on Dynamite. At Double or Nothing, we'll see Anthony Ogogo versus Cody Rhodes. Shida versus Baker, as well as Omega versus Pac versus Orange Cassidy. and we heard Jade Cargill speak for like 5 seconds. Uh, she was made an offer on Dark Elevation by Mark Sterling. Mark Sterling is the same guy who represented MJF during his rivalry against John Moxley. Tony asks why or who will be handling Jade's business. Jade says that she handles her own business, although she is listening to offers, and then she calls herself a bitch. Next up, we see Darby Allin in one of his little video packages, his black and white video packages, and he's driving down to his home in Seattle, or I don't know if it's like his current home or if it's just like where he grew up. And he was asked how he's doing after being thrown down the stairs, and Darby's like, I don't really want to talk about that right now. Again, he shows us kind of around the area within which he grew up. Says that it reminds him of who he is and where he came from, and he loves everything about it. Darby asks Miro what he's done since he's shown up at AEW. Says that he's been is the best man and just been playing video games. Says that Darby is sure he knows himself. Asks Miro if he does. Calls him a generic son of a bitch, which is a pretty funny line. Darby says that Miro will have to admit that he is one of the toughest people he'd faced. And that leads us directly into our main event of the evening, Miro versus Darby Allin for the TNT title. Sting is in Darby Allin's corner. So Miro immediately attacks mid-entrance, throwing Darby around, and he's basically like yelling into the camera, am I still underwhelming? And so he's trying to prove a point here. As Darby's being attacked, they cut to the crowd, and we see Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page kind of just laughing at Darby getting beat up. At this point, the bell finally rings, as I guess Miro got Darby back into the ring here. Miro lands his like, it's like a super kick kind of thing that he does. He did that for a near fall, and he actually was celebrating prematurely. He thought he had won at that point. Darby comes back with shotgun drop kicks and a bullet speed tope. Darby attempts a coffin drop to the outside. Miro catches him for a German suplex. Ethan Page and Sky attack Sting during the commercial break. Miro landed a crazy gut wrench suplex to Darby Allin. Darby locked in his sleeper hold, keeping Miro down just until he was able to get to the ropes. Darby locks back on the sleeper on the outside until Miro's able to run him onto the wall of the stage. And the stage wall had very little give, so it didn't look like it felt very good. Miro's attacking Darby's injured shoulder. His shoulder is injured and was taped up from having been thrown downstairs. So Miro's just ripping the tape off and just beating up his shoulder. Darby and at one point Darby's like perched up in the corner and Sting is kind of there with him, and Darby looks over at Sting and kind of just throws for a fist bump, and so they fist bump. Darby gets up and slaps Miro, lands his stunner for a near fall. Afterwards, lands another stunner. Sets up for a coffin drop. Miro's able to catch Darby and attempts a German suplex, but Darby's able to land on his feet and rolls up for another near fall. Afterwards, lands his code red, basically Canadian destroyer for a near fall, because destroyers could never end a match, not in 2021. And that brought us to the finish, where Miro locked in his game over for the win. The referee was forced to call for the bell. And so, your new TNT champion is Miro. So congratulations to him. Yeah, we got a new champion. So post-match, there was an attack by Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page on Sting. Dark Order quickly came out for the save. And then right before we went off the air, we hear Lance Archer's music come on, and he does everything but challenge Miro for the TNT Championship. So I guess soon enough we're going to see that match. That will be cool stuff. Looking forward to it, definitely. This show, again, I thought it was a good wrestling show. I thought there was some ridiculous stuff that really shouldn't have happened, like the SCU thing I mentioned. Even the way the triple threat Double or Nothing, is that the main event? It's got to be the main event. That's actually kind of cool, to be honest, that Orange Cassidy's actually going to be main eventing a pay-per-view. But just the way it was set up, it was just like a little too, I guess, like typical or whatever. But I'm sure we're going to get a great match out of it at Double or Nothing. And So yeah, I thought overall it was a good show. There's a couple things I would have fixed. But yeah, we have a couple more weeks here until the pay per view, so we'll just keep on covering these shows until then. And again, I just want to apologize for the technical issues at the previous attempt to stream here, but we'll be back in action next week. Thank you very much for tuning into the Pierce the Canvas podcast. Take care, everybody.